Let's see.
Witsalusi?
Witsalusi?
Yeah, it's...
Well, if no one's ready to go, and as soon as Sylvia walks in the door, we're just going to do Jeremy's. If nobody gets here. Because you're on time.
Hey.
Sounds good. I've got
And I can get more time than everybody else.
Well, the thing is, we have stuff we got to get through, like, bust through.
Yeah, I've got the cameras already going. So we're recording. Is Commissioner Harvey coming today?
That's the $1 million question. I'd love to say yeah, but I'll never know. Well, maybe I'll type an email. Oh, I'm sitting here. There's Commissioner Stubbs. Get in here.
Is she here?
Yeah.
Good.
You're live.
And I'm clapping?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Morning, Ryan. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Hi.
Good morning, Johnny. Welcome.
Good.
How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Glad you're here with us.
Good to see you again
Okay.
yesterday. Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, thank you.
All right. We ready?
We are ready.
You're 2 minutes late. I'm just
Hey.
kidding.
I'm sorry, it's so hard to go from one thing to the other really quick.
I know. I'm
Try to answer
Good
the
thing you
phone.
left because I heard the door when I went, oh.
Okay,
I
Well,
wouldn't have
I
left.
figured,
All right, ready? Okay. Welcome to our Board of Commissioners work session meeting. Today's date is February 3rd, 2026 at 9:02. So we need a roll call so we can get started. Don't let me know you're here.
oh,
Sorry.
Kotor, okay. Commissioner Stubbs here.
Commissioner Mon here. All right, we're gonna go to our first agenda item and we're gonna have a presentation with our county attorney and welcome Johnny Miller from UAC
You want
regarding policies, procedures, and the
so we can
rules.
see you?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I think last time we talked about sending this out and giving to each of the commissioners with requests that they review this policy, procedures, and rules and email me back with any changes, corrections, concerns. I did not receive anything from anybody. So Johnny and I have worked up this draft that I've given you here. So I guess, does anybody have any questions or concerns about it?
About the draft?
Yeah.
Like it is right now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go ahead?
Thank you. I just have, okay, we had three different directions that we're going with the draft for this document. We had when John Miller came and did an information kind of meeting for us. I'm sorry, I have oral surgery and I try not to have painkillers so I can stay awake. So anyway, so he came and we went over a document that had all the red lines. So we had two third part, and that third part was for him to come and work with that. So that's one document. Then about a month or so ago, maybe a couple months ago, we had a different document than this one presented to us. Am I correct?
I'm not aware of a second different document.
Well,
This is the,
Johnny's
go
coming.
ahead.
I think what Commissioner Stikes is talking to is.
You can come up. Use the microphone. Sorry, we've got recorded.
When I first reviewed the policy,
Yeah.
it was a policy that was written where it addressed both sections of the code,
Yeah.
the section of the code that had rules for the body on self-governing themselves, and the rules of order and procedure for a meeting combined into one policy. When I redrafted that as a suggestion for you, I split that into two policies, one for the governance of the body and one for the meeting rules. And then we worked on that, we met and discussed it, and then Mitch made the decision, or somehow we went back to the idea of combining them and having one policy that addressed both governance of the body and how we run the meeting. So that's why there were different versions of it, but the language kept moving ahead based on the discussions that we were having with the commission. It was just, we split them apart and then we put them back together.
Okay, so you have seen this, Johnny, this last draft? Has you gone over this last draft?
Yeah, I went over this last draft when Mitch sent it out to you. He also forwarded it to me. I did have a couple of comments, a couple of small items that I found that I sent to Mitch yesterday or the day before. Just a few small things, references in the statute so that the rules that you have reference the same language that's in the statute. Like the document said at a duly called meeting, and I changed that to a convened meeting because the legislature was very clear in the latest version of the Open Meetings Act changes that convening a meeting is the trigger to make it a valid open public meeting. And so that one of the other things that I mentioned to Mitch was that at one point I had provided a suggested language for how the commission convenes a meeting. And we want to get that back in the policy because again, the law is that the statute says that open public meeting is defined as when there's a gathering of a quorum of the body and they convene the meeting according to law, ordinance, or policy. And Representative Dunnigan, when he wrote that language, we talked about it together. He said, I'm going to leave it to each city, each county, how they convene their meeting so that they can decide who does that. Is it the chair? Is it a vote of the whole council? How is it convened? But they get to decide in their own policy or ordinance. So we want to make sure that that's in there.
Okay, so you've been working
So it's
with,
just little things like
you've
that.
been working with them too? Just the two of you?
Those two have been working, and then they have sent to us what they did, and then all that's happened since then is just to correlate more with the statute.
Okay, so I just have a few, and this is ready to go to our next meeting to be approved. Okay,
If we choose to, we can
Okay.
talk about it and we can decide at the meeting. Yes.
okay, in order to learn more about this, I went to 15 counties websites, and it has been a very educational process for me. Every day is a process because when I started with 0, and every day I built. So I learned, there's different kinds of government. I learned that their policies are very simple. I haven't seen any one that kind of resemble ours. Maybe I'm checking the wrong counties. And with that, I went over and over and asked if I ever read the packet. Yeah, I read it a lot. Mainly because it's not my first language, and I like to. There's lots of terminology that I'm not used to, lots of acronyms and things like that. So I went and checked this, and it has a structural problem. I'm not gonna question the legality, or you guys knows that. The structure, when you go A, B, C, D, K, the letter K is used twice. It's used on the consent agenda, and it's used on the motion. When it comes to E, under the E, it talks about the administrator. There's nothing on E for the administrator. There's nothing on the county clerk or the roles. They just left blank. Quorum needs, for me, a better clarification. It seems to be all over the place. Votings need a clarification. How do we vote? If they're electronic or not electronic. The chair role is very more. We are going to take turn being chair, so we're not going to be a chair forever. So whatever we set up, it's going to be here for a while. So I feel like that I have a lot of concern about the role of the chair, and I think there's also some grammar errors. There's extra periods, there's typos, there's misspelling, and there. And Attorney Mont, we sat here, the two of us, and had a conversation. And we talk about sometimes we get so busy that sometimes we don't. We had to hurry, and maybe this was done in a hurry. I feel bad that everybody that read this, they are English speakers, they didn't catch those things. And I feel bad that you don't have somebody that you can look at and helps you. And there's other things that can make a comment, but I don't want to make it a regular conversation when you come. I mean, when we sit down here and talk, that's the first time I saw you smile. We smile at each other. We talk about our position, why it's hard for me when we have commission meetings where we are not prepared. And I don't think it's a lack of preparation. Sometimes it's a lack because we had too many things going on or a hurry. I don't know. But I don't think that this is, I could say a lot more, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. Already is enough mistakes there. It's not ready to be accepted. And all of us here, all five, including whoever, James, when he sits here, we all have an obligation to look at this document and help you. We cannot come here and, and it cannot be an excuse that we don't have the time, whatever. I think we have to put that, we have to help you. We have to help finding those mistakes. And the other thing is, like I said, I'm not gonna keep beating at the horse because it had enough mistakes there that we had to correct. We had to recognize what job a person has. And the other, so I just want to say one more thing. The public expect all of us here and to help you and help each other. I feel bad that maybe you didn't feel like you can go to somebody and say, would you check my spelling? Would you check this? Make sure it's right. I don't know what happened in the process to make this where we can miss so many things, but all I know that we all represent the public, and the public expect us to have a document that shows procedural fairness. It has a clear transparency and this legally safe. It can be defended in case somebody questions. And I think the most concern and the only hardship I'll say that some of the part of the procedures, it sounds to me more like a gatekeeper, kind of it put in position and being a former gatekeeper and eliminating other position. But anyway, so that's all I have to say for today.
Well, one thing I don't see that. I don't see was you were saying those things that are wrong. I'm looking at that. I believe you were probably on a previous document.
Well,
And
this
you
is
guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because the one,
this isn't the agenda.
no, the one that's before us does not show the errors you're speaking of. So you talked about some things with the clerk and wrong lettering and that. The one before us is correct in form. The only thing that may not be there is commission administrator, and that's the only thing I see where there's a blank, but everything else has.
So-
intentional.
So what do we have in the agenda?
So is this one that's correct? Am I right? I guess that's what I'm asking both of you. The one that I see on my screen that's attached does not reflect her concerns.
That's what I'm seeing, looking at.
But so what did you send to us? What is
I don't
in
know
the
where you
agenda?
got your stuff.
This one's in our
I guess
packet.
I guess it's hard for me to respond to your.
Well-
Hold on, it's hard for me to respond to your allegations. If you would have emailed me like I requested, that you email me with any concerns, then I could have been prepared to address that with you here today. We've got to get this policy
Well, I
passed.
just went into the
It's been
back
a
and that's
year,
what I had in the
and we're
packet.
out of compliance. And this policy can always be changed. You know, if we don't like something, or we can come back in a month, we can come back in 6 months. Policies are meant to be updated because they're dynamic. Things change. Something may happen next month that causes us to review this and take a look at it. So just because we pass it, that's not the end of the world. That's not the end of it.
So,
It can
so
always
it's
be
in this
upgraded.
packet? Like how come when I open my
one-
packet, it had this?
But both attachments that I see to our agenda show everything in line. I don't show like all the things in line. I don't show that we're missing stuff. I don't see the errors because that's what I looked at. Am I seeing the same thing you guys are seeing?
Does she have the one before my changes yesterday?
Yes,
I would guess
yeah.
not.
No,
Okay.
we would in the packet. This went out Friday.
Okay.
So if you made changes,
Yeah. So again, I found a couple of formatting. Like there was one subpart that wasn't brought back down. I think you mentioned the E.
Yeah.
So I corrected that. There were a couple of typos that I found that I corrected, again, changing a couple of words here and there to have it meet what use the same language that the statute uses. Those types of things were I took care of, and again, the lettering and numbering, Commissioner, is a difficult one, and Mac probably knows
it
this
is
because
definitely a challenge.
Word just automatically thinks that it's going to help you out by relettering and numbering everything. So when you change the letter on one paragraph, now you've got to really watch yourself because it can
Yeah,
change
there's-
all the lettering of
well-
the rest of the
And
document.
I spent hours reformatting and going
Right.
over that. And
So
I
what
need a
did you have,
secretary to
Mac?
sit-
So
What
the
did
one
you
in your
have?
packet doesn't have, for example, it doesn't have a section S as in Sam. It goes from public hearings right to T, amendment of policies and procedures. And so if there's been an update since that, it's not in our packets. And so there will be changes on here that aren't reflective on what we have. Because I found the same similar errors on
I
here.
see that one.
See, and the one
S,
I'm looking
but-
at
So-
does show S as amendment of policies and procedures.
There's not
Yeah, I
an
See,
S on
and
the one we have
I'm
in the
wondering if
packet.
what's happening is as you open it, it's opening it in your version of Word that you have on your
This
computer.
is a PDF that we attached that
Oh.
Mitch had sent last
Okay.
week, and so
So
but
maybe
that's-
it's
I
my
don't have a
machine
Word
that when I
document
open
on
it,
it.
it is correcting all of
Oh.
those.
and yeah, the PDF is kind of solid.
But
it
it's,
doesn't make the
I
changes.
guess the question I have is, as far as, aside from the formatting, because that's really a technical issue to me. That's not, as far as meeting, I guess is my question, as far as meeting all the statutory requirements, this is in the document. As far as meeting the obligation, this is in the document, which helps us follow what is statutorily required. And I guess that's the question I think we need to focus on, is that piece. And,
But
and
you-
if you have something
but you-
specific on that.
I know, but I am at a disadvantage. You know, I checked. Nobody made any comments. When you request, I didn't see any comments from anybody. I was waiting to see, and I'm not excusing myself because no matter how sick I was show up, but I had the influence, and I was very, very sick. And so I keep waiting for other people to respond, and I thought nobody did. So I checked to see if there's any change, and I've been for the last 2-3 days just going over and over and over, trying to work on this. And so I just respond to that. I even called, we have any changes, no changes. So but
I gave my changes last work session. Because I had previously gone through the document and I had my changes. That's why I gave my changes the last meeting, and you put those changes in as we did it in the last work session. So that's why I didn't have any more.
yeah, well,
But
So I guess what we're saying is the grammatical errors, the reformatting, there may be an issue, but substantively, everything's there. Do you have a problem with any of the language in
well,
here?
I don't know because I don't have the correct version. I don't have,
There was only minor changes made
well,
to
And-
spelling or typos.
so I would
or
still
format.
have, if the only minor changes, I would have concern about.
so
Some of the other things, but-
what specifically? You mentioned something about the chair. Do you want a review on that again? I'm trying to
I don't
help
know.
it make it
I-
more comfortable for you.
I don't know. I just,
I guess this is my question. What do you struggle the most with the policy?
well, I struggled the most with the policy. Whatever I read, it was that I just felt like there was more, the balance of power was switching. I mean, we operate with a county administrator, we have a clerk, we have an attorney, and we have a chair, but then we have other commissioners. So it's not one or two, three people can manage. And so that was my concern. My concern is that and maybe if I read it, but I don't have time to read it now to find out what you guys changed. And if we,
Well, we can tell
and-
you exactly what we changed.
well,
And they're just minor things. They're typos or reformatting.
so what did we have for the county administrators and for the clerk?
I've been retitled. I'm a commission administrator.
What did that mean, commissioner
I don't
administrator?
know. It's not defined.
You wanna speak?
Yeah, as far as the meeting rules go, then Mac's position, you may have other duties as a county administrator, but for the meetings, you're administering the commission. So that's why I think Mitch used the term commission administrator, because it's more or less a position that is assisting the clerk in what are typically the clerk's duties to make sure that the proper notices go out timely, that all the items have the proper documentation in the packet, that the agenda has been approved by however the approval of the agenda process goes, those sorts of things. So it's not that that it's changed your title. It's just a reference to the things that you do as part of the meetings are referred to as commission administrator.
You had mentioned that, so there's supposed to be a separation of duties and responsibilities and policy. So you have the commission policy that's commission only, and then you have this administrative policy that's supposed to be separate. Wouldn't some of those functions go into the administrative side of the House instead of the commission policy? I mean, does it?
And I think that's why
The separation.
felt that it was better to have a separate policy
Yeah.
on the
I seen where
county
you're heading with
administrator.
that.
That should be a different policy. It doesn't belong in the rules governing the body because you're not part of the body.
So
And
wouldn't,
it doesn't
like,
belong in
creation
the
of
meeting rules.
Yeah, wouldn't the creation of the agenda be more administrative over in that other policy instead of the commission policies and procedures? Because it's all prior to them convening a meeting in there.
Yes.
And so do we take that section out and put it over into the other as well?
We could at some point, yes. If you
Okay.
have a separate policy that describes the administrative front work,
Yes,
preparing
yeah,
for
yeah.
meetings,
Yeah.
then you could put that there.
But
But-
wasn't that where we were going with the separation?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, because my thought was because the rules of order and procedure is required, there's separate subsections of the
Yeah,
statute.
yeah.
And that policy is required to be on your website
Yes.
for the public to see, and a copy of it is
The clerk,
available
yep.
to the public at every single meeting. So
Yeah.
that if a member of the public is like, how are they doing that? What's the
Why
way
do I
that,
only get
how
3
do they
minutes?
decide
And,
this?
yeah,
What's all this motion stuff?
absolutely.
They can pick up the policies and procedures and read through it and see how do you conduct your meeting.
Yeah.
That's what the statute requires.
So one of the things
my
that-
thought was, rather than having the full policy with also the rules on how the board governs themselves,
Yeah.
we just split them apart. But again, from a transparency standpoint, why not have the rules on how the board governs themselves available to the public
Absolutely.
also?
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
But
That's why I don't have a problem with them being merged.
Okay.
It's
the
just
only
a-
problem with being merged is it becomes a little bit confusing.
It can.
Because when it comes to the agenda, according to what I read before, and I didn't bring that up, the approval had to go to the attorney before. So I don't understand why it had to go to the attorney, like
The agenda?
well,
Every item of the agenda goes to the attorney for
Oh.
approval.
eventually it does in the end, but not in the beginning when they're trying to prepare the packet. And so, and that's,
Yeah, because again, the statute says that it's the county attorney's duty. One of his duties is to provide legal analysis at the request of the commission.
Mhm.
So
That's in
what
here.
you've been doing is, by way of policy, you've been requesting a legal analysis on every single item on the agenda, rather than identifying the specific items that are coming up before the commission in the near future that you want a legal analysis.
yeah, but
of.
it needs to be that way. It just kind of turned out to be that way. And I think, and
again,
that's the
that's
thing, the
policy.
conversation we have, we keep him too busy. I mean, with things that we should be taking care of. Working with the departments and doing things, you know. Yeah, he's a legal advisor in the end, and he can help us with things, but when we require more assistance from him, where we have a whole team here to work. So, I mean, those are the things that it becomes confusing. There's other things I read. We are under a mandate from the state of Utah had to operate as a quorum and things like that. And that's a little bit confusing. Quorums, we sometimes we cross each other's path. We have our own assignments. What on boards and things like that, but sometimes we show up and that creates a quorum, and especially down in certain areas, people are watching us that we're not obeying that. And so we kind of becoming more creative with the roles, I think. And so I don't know, and I think we need to figure out how we can make it clear. Like that's one of the things I saw in the counties, and I don't know how many of you guys have visited other county sites, but they have the roles of each individual, and it's very easy to see, to figure out who's in charge of what. And I agree that we can ask permission because sometimes things overlap that we're interested. If we're not making decision in the meetings, I think if we ask permission to be there. But I think we have lots of issues that all of a sudden come into our group, and I don't know. I don't feel like it. I want to be a team member, but I don't feel like I can. All I can say, I don't think I should be able to vote on something that I haven't read, and somehow along the way it became confusing. I didn't see any, like I said, no response from anybody, so I did not know they were supposed to do it by email or things like that. I probably misunderstood that part, and I did not know that they have been changed. I just opened what I had and I work on that. So,
Commissioner,
Yes.
one question I have. So we do have an ordinance that we enacted last commission regarding electronic meetings, especially during COVID. So we have that passed, but in here, it's not reflective of the ability to go and convene as an electronic meeting. It has in here that the quorum must be present here in the county seat. Can we get language included in here to reflect that ordinance, that if there were a COVID instance popped up, that we can convene in a meeting electronically instead of having this in, because right now
Yes.
the policy is in person, whereas in COVID we were electronic for some of the meetings.
Mhm.
Now I know that the flip side, the inverse of that thought is we had one commissioner that thought that then they could be virtual for all the meetings, and so you run into that dichotomy. But I wonder if we can add language in here to reflect that there may be instances where we may have to meet virtually if it's a meeting, and we had to call out specific in that ordinance that this address here was the anchor site. And so I'm wondering if we can just kind of add some of that language to this policy so that in case of emergency or in case of an epidemic like that we're covered with the policies instead of requiring the in-person meeting.
Right. Yeah. And I wasn't aware that you had been working on a separate electronic meetings policy
we had
because
that.
again,
We passed that when Alex was here. Alex helped us through that so
Okay.
that during COVID we weren't, and I think all the counties were required to pass some type of a electronic meeting.
yes, they
ordinance.
changed the Open Meetings Act that if you
Yes.
were going to allow any member of the body to join electronically,
Correct.
you had to have an electronic
and we-
meetings policy.
We do
Yeah.
have that ordinance.
So
in
what
place.
I had done is, because I was working on the policies and procedures for meetings for the counties at that time anyway,
Uh-huh.
I put the electronic meeting policy into the rules of order and procedure policy because it has to do with the meeting and how you're
Yeah,
going to conduct the meeting. So I
absolutely.
thought it just
Yeah.
made sense to have it there. But there's certainly other agencies that have a separate electronic meetings policy
Yep.
from the rules of order and procedure. And maybe what you could do is, if you've already got that separate electronic meetings
I
policy,
do, yeah.
and we could just refer to it
In here.
in here.
I think so
That
too. 'Cause
as
I
far
think
as electronic meetings go,
Yeah.
we follow this policy.
these policies and
related to it.
procedures were approved in 2018, 2019. And then COVID comes in 2020, and we never, kind of back to Mitch's point, is we've been working on these policies forever. We never updated the policies and procedures to reflect. Now we have an electronic meeting process that needs to be followed for
Right.
for those meetings, and so that came in 2020, 2021.
Right, and there's been a lot of changes
There
to
has,
OPMA
absolutely.
since
Yeah.
that time period, and I think that's why. I think from my standpoint, I've been just trying to help the commission come to having the foundational blocks of these policies in place, so that rather than having to work on the entire policy over and over again, that once you have that foundation in place, now each year when the legislators tinker with the law, we can go back, look at the policy, and make just the changes that need to be made because of that. Or if you find that, you know what, the timing on how we're putting the packet together just isn't working well, then we go back and we make changes to that. Because again, like Mitch said, it's a fluid document. It's policy. And it's expected to change when you identify issues and concerns with it, but also as the commission changes, because a different commission will have different policy, different way of looking at things. So again, that's been what I've been trying to get to is it everything that you need, and is it exact? Is everything that we've got now going to work perfectly? I hazard to say no, it's not going to. You'll find that things don't work quite right. And then we go back and change that piece of the policy so that we don't have to struggle with the entire thing. But get it in place to be compliant with the statutes, and so that there's something for the public to see that you do have rules that govern how you conduct your meetings. But yeah, the use of electronic meetings, the use of an anchor location, all those things have changed. And to what you were getting to, Commissioner Stubbs, with commissioners crossing paths and creating a quorum at other meetings outside of the commission meeting, again, that was taken care of in the last rendition of the Open Public Meetings Act. And Representative Dunnigan was as a former city council member, he was very clear. We have to be able to do our work. We can't do every single discussion in an open public meeting. So that when you end up at the same meeting together, the Open Public Meetings Act now allows for that. And again, that's why that convening the meeting is important, because if you and Commissioner Harvey are both at a meeting outside of the commission meeting, as long as you don't convene as the county board, as a quorum of the county board, to do county business on relevant matters, it's not a violation. It's not an open public meeting.
I understand that part. The thing we are assigned to committees where we make decisions. We are part of a board. Like, and in the Justice Center, there's other boards that we make decisions there. So sometimes if like one time I was in a meeting, I didn't know Commissioner Harvey was going to be there. I was invited, and they make decisions in that meeting. So when the turn came for him to introduce, he said, "I'm Jamie Harvey," so I was in violation because I was invited to go there, and they were talking. There was a board where they were talking about issues that involve decisions making and things like that. So I shouldn't have been there, but he graciously.
Why do you think you shouldn't have been there?
Because they were making decisions, I mean, like in board, like for
It
instance.
wasn't a commission meeting though, so it was a board. So we're okay to do those things,
right? Because when Commissioner Harvey sits on that board, he's sitting as a part of that public body, not as a commissioner.
There's certain things like we're in boards where we make decisions, we are part of that board. And so I don't know.
So let me go back to this just a little bit. So back in September, we knew we were out of compliance. We knew it needed to come. We've come down twice. We've merged the documents. We've made the changes, and that's really where we're at. And I agree with Johnny and Mitch on this. Is that this is a framework for us to work with, and it puts us in compliance. I agree. It's probably not perfect where it is, but we kind of worked on it for a couple months and then the ball got dropped. That's why it's coming back to us, because we need to get it back and we need to get something in place, something where we need to have something that we can refer to and work on and eliminate 2 or 3 documents, whatever we had. It just simplifies it. So I think basically where we're at this point is this is on the agenda. Commissioner Harvey is not here yet, so this will come up. We can hear his comments then, since he has missed the work session, and it will come for a vote or table, and then we can make the decision in whatever direction at that point in our next meeting of how the majority chooses to go forward. And then I agree with some concerns. If there are some concerns, either, I mean, we can revisit it as often as we want. We can put it on the agenda every month if we want, or every week if we want.
Well, I just want the opportunity to read and to see at least what we are trying to propose. And I don't feel confident for some reason. I'll just take the blame. They missed the boat. But I feel like they didn't know that things are being worked out with Johnny and things, things like that. And when I put lots of hours working on this stuff, reading and doing that, and I feel like, and I know we are under compliance, so we've been for a long time. So to me, just a little bit longer. So because as it is right now, I don't feel like they can just go along without having the concept within myself, so I can answer the question. Why do we do this? And how can we have this? And how can we don't have, and so, and I'm more one of those commissioners that live in a community that people ask questions. I had to figure out how to answer them, so that's the reason I try to stay myself informed so I can answer the questions. And so I appreciate the work that was done by everybody, but I also feel like I have put the time, but it was on the wrong copy, and so anyway, so
Mac has a question, and then we'll bring Commissioner Harvey up to speed.
On B8, so you have in here reference to the Municipal Building Authority and Board of Equalization on there. They also convene as the redevelopment agency as well. Could we get that added?
Yes.
Because that's another body that they oversee in a separate.
So the RDA, I also recognize the canvassing board.
Yes, yeah.
That's
that
a statutorily
critical.
one that they are
Iron
required
County
to.
would love to have that taken out, but
Yes.
we'll keep that in there.
Yeah. So those could be added
Yeah,
easily
we would
enough.
need to add
And
that.
and again, as we identify, we forgot that we also statutorily we need to meet as this other entity.
Sure.
We can add that to the list.
Yeah.
But just have it be a very simple change going forward. But yeah, that was one of the items that I found I was wondering what other, municipal
Yes,
building
I've
authority.
gone through that one. We do separate. We do the board of
you have
equalization
that.
separate. Our RDAs should be separate as well as.
But there may be others that the commission regularly
I think those are them.
stands down as the commission, and then is the same 3 people are meeting as a different body
Yes.
that we want to have there. Just to clarify, and again, that's one of those self-imposed rules that you're making on yourselves in your governance policy. You're not required to do it that way, but again, it clarifies it. It helps be transparent to the public that when you're meeting as the municipal building authority, you've given yourself authority to do that, and you're a different body then. It is. What's nice. If you want, I can go through the quick list of the things that I pointed out to Mitch. on the version that was in the packet. So in section A, number 2, 3, and 7, again, I think I've mentioned this, it referred to duly calling a meeting duly called, and I changed that to a meeting duly convened, because that's the language in the statute. And then again, it will want to bring some language into the policy at some point that clarifies how is a meeting convened. And I've got versions of that from different counties and my own board as far as how that would read. Section A, number 9, referenced these bylaws. Not sure where that term came from, but I changed that to this policy, or suggested changing it.
So
Then
you
we go.
remove the
Yeah.
excuse me. You remove bylaws and put policy.
Yep.
Okay.
Section B, number 3, that one speaks to participating in other local, state, and federal committees. Commissioners are encouraged to participate in other local, tribal, state, and federal committees, and I just added which do not create a conflict with their duties. Just to clarify that the policy doesn't require you to be on boards and committees that would be a conflict of interest for you as a commissioner. The section B, number 6, which has to do with electronic communications between each other as commissioners. It said all communications are subject to GRAMA, and so I added all communications related to county business are subject to GRAMA, just to clarify that. Section B, number 8, I added the canvassing board, and
RDA.
and we can add the RDA as well.
Okay.
Section F, number 3, that was the one that had some formatting issues to it.
Number 3, was that what it was?
Yeah, there's
F3.
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
a space
It's just
in between
formatting.
2 and 3.
I think what happened on the formatting is, I think the word copy is good, but when I saved it as a PDF,
Oh.
Adobe reformats it.
It does.
And I did it, and the first time I did it, there was like 3 blank pages, so I had to go back and so I think when I last saved it as an Adobe, it made some formatting changes that probably aren't in the Word document.
So will you make sure, so on
Yeah.
3D it says, it goes I, and then F, so we just need an E.
A tab in there.
Well, the
D.
E was there, it just
Oh.
hadn't been, it wasn't.
Oh, it was not.
It wasn't separated.
Gotcha.
The return wasn't hit.
Okay, yeah.
And so I got
Oh, I
that
see it.
set
Oh, it's right
up
there.
now.
I see where you're at. Mhm.
Yeah. But again, I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but I've seen commissions say, well, we're going to pass this subject to corrections of typographical and formatting errors
Okay.
that are clear.
Okay.
Because sometimes formatting makes a difference, most of the time it doesn't.
Sure.
But you could do it that way if you'd like. The section G, number 1, speaks to the county attorney attending all commission meetings, and I just added or its deputy. If Mitch chooses to send his deputy to the commission meeting. Section I, excuse me, number 2B. This is where we talk about people asking to be put on the agenda, and we have one section. Section A is about if it's an elected official or a department head asking to be on the agenda, and we have how that process works. And then we go to the next one, and it starts speaking about others, and so I just added on there from others, any request from others, so that it's clear that if you're not an elected official or a department head, then your request follows section B. And section L, number 2, this is where it talks about the sheriff being able to send people out the door if they're making a disruption of the meeting. And so I just changed that from, I can't remember exactly what the wording was, but I changed it to the statutory language, which is causing, or it was causing a disturbance, and I changed it to intentionally disrupting the meeting, because that's what the statute allows you to do. If someone is intentionally disrupting a meeting, you can have them removed. Section M, number 2. Here, you've self-imposed a rule that is not required by statute. You say that if a commissioner has a conflict of interest, that they should not or cannot debate or vote on that issue. And the statute does not require that. The statute merely requires that the commissioner address the conflict, both in their annual statement and at the time that that subject is discussed. So if it comes up on an agenda item that you have item that you have a conflict on, you would readdress that conflict at that meeting, but then you can vote. And here's why I think the legislature doesn't say you can't vote. Is a 3-person commission. You can imagine if 2 of you have a similar conflict on an issue, but it's an issue that needs to be addressed by the commission, you could never take action on it. The county would be hamstrung. And even with 1 person having a conflict, if the other 2 don't agree, again, you don't have a tie-breaking vote to do your work and take your action. So I think that's why the legislature has allowed that, no, you can vote when you have a conflict. You have to vote for what's best for the county, not vote for what's best for your conflict. But you can vote because we need you to. Again, there's really nothing in the statute, really, in the section that speaks to the roll call votes. It only allows the clerk to show that a person voted aye, nay, or they were absent. There is no abstention. Other states clearly state that all members of the body that are present must vote on every item. They don't say that here in Utah, but I think that's the intent, is that you need to vote. And it really is, it's one of your fiduciary duties is to vote on issues. So I would question, I think you need to discuss that and think about, are we going to restrict ourselves from being able to debate and vote on something as long as we make clear that we have the conflict.
Especially we live in a small
So it'd have to be
county.
changed.
We live in a small county, you always have conflict because, especially if you have lots of relatives and things like that. So.
Because I think you've
So let's
addressed the
make
rest
that
of the
change.
conflict issues well enough in that section that you could just delete that
Yeah.
reference to not
Let's do-
voting or debating, and you'd be good to move forward and see how it works.
And
Make a
one
change
other
later.
point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think conflict of interest, according to the statute, it defines conflict of interest basically as having a financial interest in an entity. So, correct me if I'm wrong, just because you're related to somebody, let's say, one of the commissioners is related, well, I guess Commissioner Mon and I said, that's not a conflict in and of itself. It has to be involved financial interest, unless somewhere else in the code of ethics, it says that familial relationships may
Right.
make
Yeah.
that.
The conflicts that are outlined in the County Disclosure Act are that you would be assisting someone with something that's before the body. Like your neighbor comes to you and says, hey, I'm trying to build this garage in my backyard. Can you help me through the process of getting that permit? Because you know how it works. You can do that, but you need to disclose that when that comes before the body to approve that permit, you need to disclose, hey, just to let you know, this guy's my neighbor, and I helped him to know what paperwork to fill out, who to call, things like that. So that's my conflict, and now I'm going to vote. you can do that. And then, like Mitch says, if you own ownership in a business that does business with the county, that's a conflict. If you own a business that may do business with the county, or if you have ownership in a business that is regulated by the county. So I always use the example, if Commissioner Harvey's family owned a cafe in Blanding, that cafe is regulated by the health department, which is part of the county. So you'd have to disclose that you have a conflict because a business that you own is regulated by the county. Those are the primary conflicts of interest that exist under the County Disclosure Act. So there's lots of things that others, like Mitch mentions, people would consider a conflict, but they're not statutorily a conflict. And then the last item was in section K, number 10, is where I caught some typos. Commissioner Stubbs, there was the word bay rather than buy, and I changed that, and to mover the issue along, and I changed that to move the issue along. But those are the items that I found that in that version that went out to you that I sent to Mitch, that we've got a version now with those changes made to it. But again, it's
So are all those are those all the changes you have?
yes.
So Commissioner Harvey, did you have any you want to address?
No, I don't. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I think the biggest piece for me is just when we're taking action, we have all the amendments and corrections ahead of time. Because the document we're looking at now is not the finalized. It's still the working document, I think.
Sure.
So that's just my request is maybe when we come to acting, we just highlight the changes in the document that will be before us.
Okay.
So that those highlights we know are the changes that were made.
Okay. Does anybody have any issues with the I guess basically the content? I mean, I feel it's a great framework. You guys have worked really hard on that. So I feel it's a good governing document.
I think it also helps just kind of organize, clean up, I guess is the word. Clean up and be a little more clearer, because I think for the past couple of years, we've just had it brought this front and center. So this is a good effort.
Okay. Any more questions?
No.
Okay.
I just want to come and think about your work, and I just we'll go from here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move to our next item.
Do you need me for anything else in the work session?
I don't think so. So, do we have? Does she go by Regan or Reagan?
Reagan.
Reagan. That. She needs an A in there, so remember.
I was thinking of a President Reagan, so that's why
Oh.
I have to do things connect.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Reagan.
I can never remember her last name though.
I learned how to say it.
Can you say it?
What's a Lucy? What's a Lucy?
What's a Lucy?
What's a Lucy? Yes, thank you.
Kind of cute name. What's a Lucy?
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. We're glad you're here with us.
Thank you.
We'll let
Sorry.
you have the
I
floor.
would shake your hands, but I am a disease today, so I'm sorry. How is everybody this morning?
Good.
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 Muy bueno.
I have some handouts. Today there's a lot of discussion that we want to kind of bring to your guys' attention on a potential move. And I wanted to get our commissioner's input on that move. And then these are just some information things that I want you guys to have that we're promoting so you're aware of what's going on. And I'll speak into the microphone.
Take
Sorry.
your breath.
So we have been, over the past 5 years, have been tentative to have an expansion of our space. And so what it was, the discussions 5 years ago was that there was funding from Vice President Ken White. He oversees the entire extension department for the state of Utah. He contributed funding for the purchase of the Shopco building in Blanding. And with that, we were supposed to have what we call a 4-H makerspace. And so we were supposed to have a quarter of that building. However, to date, that building is only halfway completed, and the CTE program has been using all that space, and we don't have anything there. As discussions started to grow for a new facility for Monument Valley for Utah State University, I also spoke with Ken White and told him, we're trying to grow agriculture. There's a lot of support that we need for livestock programming. And the veterinary program was just starting to take off into a 4-year program. So this was about 2 or 3 years ago. We were having these discussions. And I told him that it would be nice to be able to have a plant science educational space there over at the Monument Valley campus. And so he also contributed some of Extension's department dollars to help that facility come to fruition. And so that's supposed to be opening up soon, but we have a shared office space there. We have resources. We're going to be having a garden space out that way that we would be developing for education for all of the educational systems out in Monument Valley there. However, we still don't have our makerspace. So about a couple years ago, Christian Olson had kind of a thought, because I was asking him, what's the progress of completing the Shopco CTE building? And he had this idea that the Spark building over in Blanding, I don't know how many of you are familiar where that is.
Tell me which one that is.
It's right next to the corner of the high school. So you're turning on 200 to go up towards Blue Mountain.
The one that has the main.
There's a building that nobody ever remembers right there.
Is it? I know there's that seminary building. Is it down from that?
Is that where they
one?
have small business?
Okay.
They have small business.
They did have the Small Business Association there. And so we went and looked at the space 2 years ago in the spring, and Ken White was down for commencement in Blanding, and they liked the space. So Christian Olson was proposing a swap for our office to have full, complete use of that entire building. And so what that would...
Office?
Yes.
Okay.
So what that would look like is we would house all of our staff together, because right now we're basically everywhere. We would have a classroom teaching space. Well, 2 of them. In fact, we would have, I don't know if any of you have been in that building, but there's a full classroom. And then on the opposite side, there's like these computer desk rooms. I'd like to transition that into the 4-H makerspace. So it would be all of our 3D printers or anything that would be like craft supplies to help formulate clubs and lessons. A space for our volunteers to be able to come and teach, because right now we're renting over at the Arts and Event Center. We're renting and leasing from all sorts of places all over the county to be able to allow our volunteers and coordinators to be able to do programs. So the holdup has been that the offices were being utilized by some of the CTE department faculty and staff, and so they've now officially moved out. And so the building is completely vacant. And so I wanted to bring the attention to you guys, because we're still in discussions at USU's end, but I wanted to make sure that you guys have full involvement of what you'd like to see from our office, because this may potentially mean that we would be leaving this space completely. If you wanted a presence from our office still here at the county, because that's where we've always been housed since the beginning of Extension and county cooperation, I thought that the discussion of talking about the 4-H coordinator positions, and if we get funding to help support 3 full-time 4-H coordinators, that one of those 4-H coordinators would be housed up here, and we'd only need 1 office space for that. And so we would downsize completely. But our main operating hub would be over at that Spark Center in Blanding. As far as O&M, because the county is part of that cooperation, is asked to support the O&M of our operating costs. Christian Olson said with as much money as Ken White's forked out for us to be able to have a space, that they would be the ones to make sure that O&M of that facility in Blanding would be operational, and then also the shared office space over in the Monument Valley campus. So as we come to discussions and agreements on things, we might be needing to amend the contract just to make sure that it reflects all of the appropriate spaces that we would be utilizing. But I like your input. That's kind of what I have today.
Well, we're happy for you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for her?
No, I just very excited. I think it's a beautiful building, well deserving for you to be there, and having to travel back and forth for some, being together, and I had to go different places to have meeting with whoever's working in your program. That saves lots of time.
Do you, Commissioner Harvey, have any comments for her?
Thank you, Reagan, for all your work with Utah State University and the agriculture initiative for our county. I think in regards to relocating, Blanding seems central, and that's great. As long as we continue to be available to the Eastland group, I think that would be the biggest piece, is just being accessible. I know there's agriculture happening in that area, a lot of farmers, and I'm sure they have needs. I remember the big conversation being invasive. What is that? Invasive weeds. Yeah.
I was like, there's invasive pests, but most common is weeds.
Yeah, and so that was a big deal. Just a thought, and maybe you can take this thought for what it's worth. UNHS has got its wheels rolling with the grocery store in Montezuma Creek, and they worked out a deal with Associated Foods. I think the initiative behind that endeavor is making more healthier foods become available to the community, not soda, potato chips, and the real good stuff, but rather the stuff that we should all be eating, including myself, like vegetables and agricultural goods. I think UNHS has been catching on to this idea of food security. I think United States Department of Agriculture has this thing about, I can't think of it, but it has to do with food is
Medicine,
which is a Native American perspective, really. And I think food independence, that's kind of the lifeline for a lot of residents in Aneth, Montezuma Creek, McElmo Canyon. And there was in the past, I know, Red Mesa chapter actually worked with Aneth to kind of go into alfalfa fields just right across the river. I don't know what happened. But now that the state is working with the tribe to make the water settlement work, which helps natives re-engage with farming, agriculture, that would be a great place to have that initiative for food is medicine, natives going back to really who they are. We didn't have grocery stores in the beginning. We grew our own food. Anasazis, they had a lot of corn, and the corn grew in places that were never possible. My point is, Utah Navajo Trust Fund has always been trying to figure out a way to revamp that old sewing plant. And it always comes up at the annual Dene Advisory Committee meetings. What do we do with the that old sewing plant. It's a storage building right now. But it can be more. I mean, at one point they were saying maybe we should convert it into more office space so we have more state and federal programs in the building that's accessible to the community. But that's an option. It's really just striking up a conversation with Tony Daesh and the Dene Advisory Committee to have a plan and a purpose to reevaluate that building and kind of having a discussion about what is the priority now. And agriculture, I think, would be a great discussion to have if it's aligned with UNHS, Aneth chapter, the local chapters really down there. UNHS, Aneth chapter, and the trust fund, and talking about USU Ag is here, where support. Maybe we need to explore further food as medicine and natives going back to planting, and be suppliers to the grocery store too. That's just a thought. Take it for what it's worth, but that's my input into what you're doing. I think that would be a huge project, worthwhile. But that's really all I've got, Madam Chair.
Maybe if you plan it, it'll rain. I don't know, just saying. I do have a couple follow-up questions for you. So, obviously, do you? I know we talked about having more of a presence in Blanding, but do you feel the traffic down there for that, because it would be located down there, is a better fit? I mean, I feel like that. I mean, I think we all feel that. Obviously, there's more traffic that uses the services down there, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think for ease of advertisement, especially for the new generation and outreach, having a building that specifically showcases just extension is going to be huge. And with it being right there next to one of the highly trafficked areas for schools, youth, and everything, I think that's very appealing to me. We might be able to offer a space for kids to be able to walk down and have programs at the end of the day, clubs and things. That's kind of what I see, a really great opportunity there. I know historically we've been here, Monticello, one thought that came up is, servicing the farmers. So they always have that opportunity. I prefer to come out and meet them every time. So I get a call. I'm out at their field. I'm looking at everything. I'm asking about their history. I'm helping to take samples. So we do that all the way up, even into LaSalle. I don't get much calls from Spanish Valley, but I think it's because Grand County Extension Office is right there. So we'll always keep that intact. That service, is not going to change. It's just that I have to take the time to drive out that way, which, I don't think that's going to change because I'm already driving up here anyway. So, but appeal for that building right there, I think, is going to help us maybe reach into that younger generation. I do have a thought that when we decide to move, that we would have an open house. We would invite the entire community, have a display of all the services and opportunities that we offer, have a place for volunteers to be able to sign up. From all parts of the county. We want to get 4-H into every community because really a lot of this education and support from our office, it starts with the kids and then them carrying that into, adulthood and then introducing that to their kids. So there's just generally a huge gap in our county specifically where not all of those services were extended outside of just livestock continuously or just canning. And so I think we're slowly working on changing that dynamic, but we need to start inviting the younger generation, my generation, and then their kids to be able to utilize our resources.
So as a follow-up, I guess that's exactly how I picture, if you leave this area, that they know that if they need help, that someone can come to them. And so that would be my first request. And then my second one would be that in the exit process that this area knows that
Yeah.
you are leaving, that this is very well publicized. There's a lot of public awareness, and they know exactly how they can reach out to your department with that vacancy, so that they have that. And I know
Okay.
you would be very aware and cognizant of that. So
Yeah.
and do it in a timely manner, so it's not just kind of abrupt and hey, we left, and then
Yes.
everybody comes here. So something that we have plenty of time to advertise and let people know that this transition is happening.
Okay.
And then lastly, do you ever, I mean, of course you always need volunteers to teach stuff, because I saw this, but
We have a Lego club too that's still going on. I think they just finished up their last class last Wednesday, and then
because I
they're
have someone that knows how to make some amazing blankets out of yarn. Don't know if she would be interested in being
if
a
there are
teacher, but
volunteers in every community,
I'll
you
see
know,
what I can do. I might work some magic, but they're pretty fun.
but it's anything, literally. Like if you think of anything that you want to do, even chess
Okay.
club, just anything. If there's
Sure.
somebody that wants to volunteer and then host it, that's what we need. So we need volunteers, because there's no way that I can do it all, or Ryan can do it all.
Okay,
So
well, I'll put the bug in there and see what they want to do.
okay,
It's a fun thing. So, okay, anything
I
else?
just wanna first tell you last week we attended the legislature. It was Future Farmers of America were there on campus, and they talked about the increase in enrollment coming out of the young people in the high schools. It's amazing. I think the 4-H program used to be really, really big.
yeah,
Like in the blended area, that's the one I'm familiar with. We used to have lots of 4-H programs going on. It's my belief that busy hands keep kids out of trouble, you know. And now it's not the texting kind of busy hands. They need something that they can do when they become depressed or life is hard, you know. And anyway, so that is a great opportunity to be close to the high school, I think, and inviting other groups to come, Future Farmers of America. And some of the projects that they work nowadays is raising flowers or maybe not other things. And I was wondering, what did they do in a big city like Salt Lake, you know? And they have some things that they can learn. I mean, the new technology, they can do participation experiments and science project. And so I just want to ask this, in the olden days, I have friends that work here, and I always came because of my pressure cooker. They had to check my pressure cooker. So basically, the pharmacy already covered that. Is there other service that the people are used to coming here? There's just beside farming and
yeah. We have the pressure cooker testing service still.
oh, you still do?
Yeah,
that? Okay.
yeah. So we have all the equipment to be able to do that. So
Okay.
that's Ryan's area. So we have a defined line of responsibilities. So mine's everything agriculture and natural resources. So once you harvest the food, and then once it's harvested, that's when everything shifts over to Ryan's end of family and consumer sciences. So that's the food preservation, food nutrition, meal planning, family relationships, all of those things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. And also with the 4-H program, I still want to do something. Juan Mesa, soon the legislature's over, I'll come to you and try to work. So we, you know, I'll be willing to work in that area. Very fun. I already talked to some people that be willing to help us there. So,
Okay.
anyways, well, thank you for your work and
Yeah.
all amazing. And I have one question that has nothing to do with this, but I was in one of the chapter meetings, and they were talking about the animal density rules that's coming to the reservation. Are you familiar with that? I keep asking people so I can inform myself better.
Animal what?
Density.
You know, how many animals you can have, and they were talking about this. There was all in picture. They have so many horses equal this, you know, it was kind of picture. And so I get a copy of that.
So that's something that BIA has had in place for years, right? They have continued to restrict the number of livestock that any grazing permittee can have in order. I want to change the dynamic. I'm bringing some different education that's not very common, and it's not massively recognized as like the best way to do things. I brought it up several times, but it's that regenerative or holistic agriculture type approach. We are having, I don't know that we have the flyer done yet, but I can see if my staff assistant hasn't done, and then we can print it off. But I would like to invite each of you to attend one of the soil health and plant for grazing workshops that I started over in Monument Valley. I mentioned that we were having a workshop for the ranchers in the north. We did that during the week of middle January, so right around what was that, Martin Luther King Day. 3 days. We brought 2 experts in, one from Wells, Nevada area, and another one from Chihuahua, Mexico. And they worked with our producers one-on-one and helped them come up with a grazing management plan. So I'm working with them in depth on helping them improve, helping them to have the support they need to allow the appropriate recovery and rest periods. Animals are essential for land recovery and restoration. And complete removal of animals, which is what's being done on tribal communities especially, and just everywhere. You know, when we go to BLM, when we go to Forest Service, like the automatic determination is, well, we got to get the animals off. But grass and animals have a symbiotic relationship where grass is stimulated to grow as long as they're appropriately grazed by the animals. And so if we rotate and we do some of these practices, we're going to be able to see more of a regeneration. So the workshop that I just taught one over in Monument Valley, the grazing official there has asked me to come back and repeat the workshop on a monthly basis, and she's going to get a new group of people every time until we get a massive, until we have a mass informed community with the same knowledge and understanding. And then from there, I want to work with the people to work together to start combining their herds, because there's no way that we can have recovery and restoration if people are limited to 2 horses and 5 sheep. There is no way. And so the only way that we can actually accomplish something is if we bring the herds back to the landscape and start rotating them in large herds. So there's lots of organic matter deposits that start to cover the ground, put nutrients back in the soil, support the plants that are growing there, and then allow enough time for the plants to recover and rest. And so it's essential that we do this. And right now, the system that's in place has only aided in dividing our communities. There's a resource that I have found that was, if you guys write down Alan Savory, he started all of his education and knowledge and research is what started this regenerative ag discussion. Now, regenerative ag has taken many forms and avenues, so it's very important to understand what are the basic principles that you have to look for. And then you have to be adaptable, because it's not a one true system, because Mother Nature is not a one true system. So you have to be ready to be adaptable to progressing and making changes as needed based off of the circumstances that are occurring. So let me give you the date, but I'd like to invite you all to attend this workshop. I do think it's essential and it's very eye-opening. I just give an hour and a half instruction on what we need to look for, where we need to start thinking about things. Once I get Monument Valley's community completely and entirely involved, then I want to bring back the 2 experts that we brought back for our ranchers in the north and have them help work on a working plan that would be basically their grazing management plan that they can submit to BIA to operate together as communities. So Monument Valley is my test pilot program. If this works, we're going to expand out. So what I'm going to do right now is just start inviting grazing officials from all the other chapters to be in attendance, and then have them start encouraging their people to come to these working sessions. So right now we're looking at February 21st from 10 to 12.
Could you send us an invite and then we can probably,
I'll see if I can go
Promote it.
have her print off
Yeah.
these flyers. I want to make sure they're done and they're updated.
yeah,
Yes. So just right on there. I don't know if that's the old date or if that's the new date, but that's when I was out there last. If that's January.
This one says February.
Oh, okay. So we got it. All right. So that one. Yeah.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
wanna, I know as your dreams and knowledge, and I just wanted to give you a little, time here to talk about that. My concern is that all these ordinances come with grazing attachment and things like that, so the more we can let the people know about it, the possibility, and even inviting people to go visit Colleen's,
Yeah. Her test
Days.
plot.
yeah.
That's still a
Anyway,
working process. Yeah. We're making headway and we're seeing success already. It's only year one.
so
And the largest land users are the livestock producers. So how can we make the greatest impact? That's where we're starting. We started with gardeners, yes. We have people incorporating. We're going to be reaching out to those that we had the boot camp with last February, just to get like, where are you at? What do you need help with? And we're going to start creating some working sessions with gardeners. Your thought on UNHS. So over 3 years ago, I was working with a dietitian, Christine Schulte, before she had her the health complications that started to arise. I did get approval with UNHS to develop and build a community garden base. There was a back and forth on exactly where it should be located, whether it should be in Montezuma Creek or if it should be in Blanding. They decided the 10 acres that's right behind the Blanding Clinic would be the best place, but we needed water. There wasn't an avenue in-house at UNHS where there could be a point person that people were agreeing upon that we could communicate and work with back and forth, because it would be UNHS's dollars that would be expended out to make this garden happen. They also wanted the garden to be mobile because they have intended to build I think an administration building or something on that property. And so where they were wanting to have it, they were saying, you could put the garden here, but we're going to have to ask you to move over. So, and then Christine Schulte had her complications and she was just having trouble again finding like the right people to work with. So I had somebody internally that was right on the same page. We were going to start making things happen. But internally, there was a limited amount of decisions that was actually allowing us to progress. So if that could be resolved, I'm happy to come in and have those discussions again. Because I think it's essential. We had a lot of, I told Christine there was a lot of things that you could do with it. If UNHS got grant funding to help support, mobile food prescription units, she struggled because she's like, all of the things that my patients require in order to help recovering themselves is fresh fruits, vegetables, and protein. And it's that simple. You cut out everything else in the middle of the grocery store aisles completely. And if they could come up with a grocery store that has none of that because the dollar stores have it, then you would have what you need for people to eat. And because that is real food. And so if we can get that, and then we could have mobile units that could help, just like you have prescriptions. I mean, they have drones that carry in medicines at some other facilities, to people that are so remote, or when there's snowstorms and the roads are impassable. They're like, I told her all these ideas and she was completely on board, and we really wanted to try and push to make it happen. The next person that we started to work with was Samantha Holiday over at the community center. We were trying to get a grant, and then all the funding cuts completely cut off. But that was also one thing that the community center was looking to help support. So there's a lot of people in the community. We're trying, but it comes back to funding and the appropriate point people that are really going to help push the position. So if we can find those point leaders, and if UNHS can structure a specific department, because that's what it's going to need, is a specific department that's going to support that, then we could make it happen.
So maybe me and Commissioner Harvey can talk to NRF, maybe we can do some kind of a grant, special project Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Let me know if there's anything that I can do. But that open house, I'll just kind of maybe come back for working sessions. But if there's anything that you guys think of after the thought that you want us to make sure, if you guys want to be included in some of these meetings that I start having with
Okay.
USU upper admin, I'm happy to make sure that you're included on those discussions and we get you part of those meetings if you want. I don't know how soon we would be moving over, but we will keep you posted. I don't want it to be sooner than later. Again, like you mentioned,
Right.
we want to make sure the community's very aware of what's going on and that it's not like, oh, I didn't know you weren't here anymore.
Right.
And now you're up there. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
Just keep us
so much.
surprised. Thank you so much.
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Jeremy, are you ready for our? You can do it.
You got it warm in here.
Oh, it feels good finally.
Should come over here.
It'll turn off, and then we'll freeze. So go ahead.
Frozen.
Thanks
So-
for being with us.
I sent you guys an email. I apologize for not having time to get that on in your packet. Did you all receive it? Or do I need to have someone make a copy?
I did see it.
So I just kind of wanted to give an update or a summary of kind of where we ended up in 2025 really quick. I will try to stay as brief, but I definitely want to answer any questions you may have. And then also talk about, I've talked to a few of you guys about the potential funding options we're looking into with the potential for a sales tax option that the state has approved us to be able to be eligible for, but would need to be put on the ballot moving forward. So just really quick, 2025, we were fairly busy, is a little bit busier than 2024. We were at 591 on our total calls. Of those, we transported 449 of those patients. We only get to bill for patients that we transport. So there was 142 that we either went out and we didn't transport, or that we the patients refused, or some other reason. Our average response time is a little bit off from where I'd like it to be. Our 5.7 minutes is from when we leave the actual cement at the ambulance scrutch. We're working on some ways to try to make that a little bit, to tighten it up. Unfortunately, the model we're in, where people are responding from their homes, we're going to always be a little bit higher than, say, our urban counterparts. I did give kind of an estimate, kind of our arrive on scene time, 10 to 20 minutes. And that's what I'm saying. If we could shave 3-4 minutes off that response time in the future by maybe having more full-time people maybe stationed in the stations during the daytime, obviously that shaves 5 minutes off the on-scene time. So our calls do end up exceeding the 90 to 200 minute mark often because of the areas we respond to and the places that we transport to. You know how big our area is. Currently, we have 3 full-time. Like I said, we would like to look at the possibilities in the near future of increasing those to provide a more consistent coverage over. Oh, thanks. I was going to go do that. I had plenty of time. To expand that, where we do have 37 part-time people. We're covering, for the most part, the bulk of our schedule, but there are times when we do have some holes, and it is a little scary still. So we do still have challenges in our staffing department. Some of the factors that we've identified as challenging, especially not just related to San Juan County, but in rural EMS in general, our low call volume does make our fixed costs more expensive. Based on last year's number, 2024, our fixed costs on a basic, when we just took our 588 calls, was about $1,883 per call. This year, as you can see, just by adding just 20 extra calls or so, it kicks that down by almost $200. So you can see, I only put that in there so you can see that an urban environment where they're responding to multiple calls a day, and they staff the exact same staffing that we're required by law to have staffed in the 2 different stations, our fixed costs are always going to be significantly higher. Um, we are inadequate reimbursement. We've talked about it multiple times, but about 64%, not about, nearly exactly 64% of our calls are Medicare, Medicaid patients. And we know that we only recuperate about 30 to 40% of those costs. And then many of those, because of frequency, maybe to the same patient and such, we don't collect anything on those. So we're not much we can do about that. We work on the Utah side to try to maintain or try to get as much as we can, work with the legislatures as they pass different bills that affect us in that regard. We also, of course, fully support our federal counterparts that are fighting for us at that level with our add-ons and such for Medicare, Medicaid. Our documentation has, I believe, helped improve or increase that percentage, though very slightly, but an increase is an increase. We do still have difficulty recruiting and retaining our staff just because they're part-time. They have other jobs. Again, we have 3 people within our staff that this is their full-time job. Everybody else, this is a secondary employment. So their first employment and their families are always going to take precedence over our needs. We talked about the thingies, or the, sorry, not thingy, transport times. We have recognized our rising costs. Just in my 12 years as full-time with the county, we've seen ambulances go from the cost. We used to be able to buy an ambulance for, well, the ones we have in 2019, we paid about $200,000 to $250,000 for those. Today, we're looking at ambulance costs that are $300,000 to $350,000 to $400,000, equally equipped. Our monitors, the bulk of our monitors are basically all the same age. We bought 3 that were new in 2017, and then we bought 3 that were pre-owned for a significant cost savings at the time. So the problem is it makes them all the same age. And so now we have 6 monitors that are getting nearer the end of their life. When we bought those new, they were $30,000, and today they're going to cost us nearly $50,000. So everything just continues to go up. As with everything, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So some of the funding recommendations that we've identified last year, or not last year, sorry, in previous years, the legislature passed a dedicated sales tax that's available for rural health, and EMS being one of those components of that. Fortunately or unfortunately, this particular tax would need to go on the ballot to be voted on. We can choose to go anywhere from 0.25 to 1%. With the figures that I've done so far, we looked at a couple different, when I say we, I was with a couple other EMS directors in Utah that have elected and been successful with this tax in their counties, and it definitely had a positive impact on those. Some of them that are at 0.5, everybody that's at 0.5 wishes they would have just went with 1, because you just do it one time and it's kind of one and done. For our county, unfortunately, we don't have a significant, when I talk about significant commerce number, I mean our sales tax generation isn't truly significant compared to other areas. Like for instance, our neighbors to the north, a 0.5 sales tax generates about $4.7 million for their EMS department. We're proposing a 1%. And without knowing, the unfortunate part is I've got some information, or I've got a question out to the tax commission right now. I was hoping to have an answer. I don't, because the question came up yesterday. Where did you get your numbers? We don't have a way to just say this is exactly what the number will be. We've had to go and look at different tax rates for different things within San Juan County, and then try to figure out based on what this sales tax would be applicable to. So say it's not applicable to non-prepared foods and gasoline. So those are the two things, or fuels. So those are the two things that would not be included in this sales tax. And finding a sales tax at exactly the 1% rate that works with that, it's been a little bit challenging. So we've had to just kind of throw our best guess. The best guess we've came up with is if we were to go with the full 1%, that it could generate up to and hopefully more than $1.2 million for our agency, or for the EMS department. Our current budget, of course, that's about our budget. So we only collect a certain amount, or 40% of our billings. So we're collecting about $600,000 a year. The reason that we want to go for the 1% is because of the things I just expressed concern about. Our ambulances are all going to need to be replaced in the near future. We have monitors and other equipment that we've spent the bulk of our budget repairing items versus replacing items that are going to need to be replaced soon. So with that, we would propose, or would like to, if this was to pass, be able to put that into some type of replacement type funding, at least some portion of that, so that we feel like we're more prepared and we're not coming to you guys in an emergency saying, hey, we need $1 million to buy some ambulances. I actually, within my own staff, have some contradicting opinions about whether sales tax is more fair or less fair than property taxes. Specifically, their concern was to the lower income folks. We've looked at those. We've talked to a couple different people. We don't know what the answer to that is yet, other than we do feel that sales tax is a more fair tax to the people that are visiting our area and that are coming into our service area using these services, whether they're from outside our state, being as close as we are to Colorado. We have a lot of patients that are transported into our area, and then it becomes our responsibility to get them where they need to go. So there is a burden that's always placed on our agency specifically, not just by tourists, but by people that are coming from outside of our boundary, our EMS boundary, that are coming in for services. So with those, we identified, them coming in, and so we haven't changed our position. The bulk of our staff, and my personal feeling is that the sales tax is still our best option versus a property tax. So the recommendation, or what we're asking from you guys today, and I've talked to some of you, but we want to have your blessing or authorization to start engaging our stakeholders, our cities. We need to talk to both of them. They're going to be absolutely key and paramount in this. Nobody, myself included, you start talking about taxes and everybody quits talking because nobody wants to talk about it, and they just want to, nobody wants to pay more. However, I do feel, and not just because I'm very passionate about EMS, I do feel that we've got to do something different. We have very, very few funding options for rural EMS in Utah. That's something I express to our legislators all the time. If you really want to help us, like this is an area we actually really need help. We are making some traction, I believe, but I don't foresee that happening in the really near future. But just basically what it says, we need to be able to start having those conversations with you guys, with your support, to start talking to our cities, the hospitals and such. And then with your support, hopefully, outside of us, because we have to be careful with that. But I'm hoping that someone will take the reins and create a group that will kind of help champion this bill for us so that we can get the support that we need to get this passed, because we really need it.
I have
Go ahead.
a comment. When you compare the two taxes, property taxes affect the senior population, the people that already have paid their home and they have a small budget. And we are limited to the population that pay taxes, which is not very big in our county. Sales taxes, everybody eats. And there's no people that go in hungry because of that, because many people, there's many programs that is providing food. So it's not gonna be children or anybody suffering for food. And so I think that the food taxes kind of make more sense because everybody pays for it. And we don't have to say, well, we don't, whatever, we cannot pay taxes, but it protects our senior population, and that's the population that we have the tendency to be losing because they live in the county, they figure that someplace else the properties taxes are not so high, whatever. So I think going through the food tax, a bigger thing.
So it's
Anything
not taxed on food.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So-
to be honest in full, I honestly, just within 2 years ago, if you'd have asked me about this tax, I would have actually had not done the research, and I would actually not know how much potentially this could generate for us. And now, in hindsight, I wish we would have done this 2 years ago. But we just didn't realize, when you look at the big picture, every package that ends up on somebody's doorstep from Amazon, they're collecting sales tax, and that's getting paid to the city or county, cities and counties in the state of Utah. And I hadn't put really a number to that. I didn't put enough forethought into it, I guess. So I think, like I said, the number we're looking at now is significant enough that it would absolutely make a difference and hopefully take some of that general fund burden off of. I will not tell you we'll never have to, invest in this system with general fund money again. That would be a lie. I think we have to be realistic, and that could be a possibility depending on things and how that happens. But I do feel like this would make us nearly self-sufficient within our department.
So I do have a request. When you do go to educate, I think it'd be advantageous to show how much is needed for your department and how much we do have to pull from the general fund to subsidize that, because it's a huge gap, and
Right.
I don't think the public's aware of
Right.
that. And then I guess the other piece I would say is, like, put it into real terms for people to understand that if you spent $3, this cost you 3 cents.
Right.
When
Right.
they look at that, that's easy.
Yeah.
But when we're looking at tax, if we just focus on the tax, that's when it's. So I guess those are the two pieces I would bring into
No, and
educating the public.
any of that feedback would be super helpful as we start to put material together, and how we, my biggest concern is that we start telling a different story. I want the story to be a united story. Like, I don't want it to be false. We're not trying to make this what it's not, but it needs to be a true story. And I think those are great points, to the point of telling the real story. We have to be able to tell, like, last year was one of the years we've taken actually the least amount of it from the general fund, and it was still nearly $300,000 just to break even. That didn't replace any equipment. That didn't, really do anything to fix our staffing issue, during the daytime hours, all of those things that it just does. All we're doing is it's the bare minimum. We have the Band-Aid on this gaping wound, and hopefully this would be something we could put a tourniquet on it and at least slow that bleeding down while we kind of reevaluate.
Well, and if they understand where general fund dollars come from, that's property tax.
Yep.
So, and like she says, guarding that. So, I thank you. I love the idea and what you're trying to do. Do you have any comments?
I don't, Madam.
Okay. We are going to thank you for coming in. We're gonna probably back out this meeting.
And I just want to make one more comment with Representative Logan Munson working on the bill for not being a taxi service may help us here in the county.
Yeah, every agency in Utah suffers from that exact problem, and I do think there's definitely some some weight in that. I have to admit, I'm more concerned about funding than abuse right now. Like
Yeah.
if we could get funded, that's a much, much, much higher priority to me.
Yeah.
Than and in addition to, of course, we don't want people abusing the system, but funding is the thing we are struggling with the
And
most.
you guys come from the side that you don't worry if the person gonna pay their bill. You cannot judge that.
Nope.
You do the service.
Yep.
So I understand that. And so I happy to go with you. I won't do the talking. I'll just pass the flyers and
Yeah.
shake
Okay.
hands or whatever. But
Well, if you would like, I
Okay.
mean, as soon as I have those
Yeah.
meetings set up with the cities, I'll just shoot you
Yeah.
an email
Perfect.
just so you know. And if you can make it, that would be
Yeah.
fantastic. If not, then we'll just carry on. But
Thank you, and we appreciate you coming to us with a solution.
thank
Okay.
you so
It's
much.
great. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the work session.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have till 11. We're starting.